please welcome to the stage the fabulous Joe Glover! That's it, go on.
Oh my goodness. Hello everyone. That was like such a British response to someone saying hello. Hello everyone. My name is Joe, and I've been terrified about this talk. I can speak about marketing forever, but this is something different. And what I've resolved to do is be perfectly imperfect, which means to say that, like, you know, I've rehearsed a little bit. I want to be respectful to everyone in the room, but I also want to speak from the heart, and so hopefully it comes through in that way today. So this is me with my daughter Annie. She is 3, and our son James, who came home 5 months ago, and my wife Jet. I'm the luckiest man alive. I am 32 years and 113 days old, and yes, I have hand-drawn my slides, so be prepared for some rubbish. And I'm very, very happy to be here today. Actually, you know what, in all sincerity, you know, like, I'm fortunate enough to stand on stages in lots and lots of places, but there's so much joy in the room today, so much good feeling, and it's just been bloody brilliant. So thank you everyone as well for creating such an amazing atmosphere. And actually, before I properly get going, like, being an event organizer, I know how much, so much hard work goes into these things too. So there's Kirsty sat over there, but I didn't put a picture of the AV and everyone, the staff working on stage, but they've also done a phenomenal job. So in a very non-British manner, could we summon, like, the loudest round of applause that we possibly could for Kirsty? It's properly nice. Right, I'm going to start today with a story. Meet my grandma. Not those people, that lady right there. She looks super sweet, but, like, she turns the air blue around her. You have never heard a lady swear more than my grandma. It is ridiculous. Never heard a human being swear more than my grandma. Now, the thing you need to know about my grandma is that she grew up in the hills in Derbyshire. She had I asked her the other day her favorite memory. And she was like, oh, it was when I was a kid and we spent the whole day going out and we were picking raspberries and, like, there was nobody around. It was beautiful. But my grandma is also one of 12 kids, which means to say that, like, the family that I grew up in is extraordinarily large. Lots and lots and lots of people. And every Christmas, this is Santa Claus, every Christmas we would get together in Birmingham, which is where she subsequently ended up. And we'd end up in a house for a massive party with all of the family invited. And you can imagine with 12 kids, who then subsequently, like, big Catholic family, have about a bazillion children themselves. Like, this was a busy house. And like this room, it was full of joy. It was full of lovely, lovely people having a nice time, enjoying each other's company, just relaxing, shoulders down in the space with one another. It was beautiful. But I remember being a 3-year-old, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way through my childhood, and going to this party and absolutely dreading it. And it's not because I didn't love the people in the room. I sincerely did. But the smells of the food, that's supposed to be a chicken. My wife told me it looked like poo. The noise coming from all the different directions, the heat in the room, and, like, being quite small at that stage, like, just people's bums, you know, sort of like walking around. Like, it was so much. The sensory stuff was just like a mad sensory overload. And I just remember the relief of finding a quiet space, just being sat by myself, even at that age, just going, you know, a little corner, little room, and just decompressing and going again. It was nice. That was my happy place. It wasn't around the bums. It was by myself. But a funny thing happens when you start doing things like that. And I started getting statements like this. So first of all, I probably panicked my parents. So aforementioned, I've got a 3-year-old. So if my 3-year-old goes missing, I'm probably quite annoyed that she's disappeared. So I started getting questions like, where have you been? But I'd also start getting stuff like, you've missed X, Y, Z. Something happened and you didn't see it. Sometimes you'd even get questions like, were you there? And something that has carried me throughout my entire life, because I don't have a loud voice, is, sorry, what? And repeating yourself. And somehow, with those statements, it made me feel like somehow a lesser person. We sort of go in and folks are loud, they're confident, they enjoy parties and stuff like that, but that wasn't me. Now, as I grew up, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, I thought, this is probably going to change, right? Thought it's going to change. Note the muscles, by the way, very important in the illustration. This is probably going to change, as you get an adult, you become more confident, you feel great, and you're going to just walk into a room and say, I'm here. But actually, no. So my experience, I walked into networking events, at the beginning of my career, sort of 23, 24, and maybe instead of the food, we sort of ended up, people stood in those circular formations at networking events where you got to break your way in and then introduce yourself. You introduce yourself and you say, hi, I'm Joe, I'm the marketing manager, and then people judge you by your humanity, by your job title or your budget. Or even worse, do this one, which is like, can I sell some marketing shit to you? And the same thing with the noise, and less so with the bums, less bothered about that, but whatever it was, that experience of being a child in those spaces and then decompressing and loving that, but then finding somewhere as an adult that was going to be the case too, God, that was tough. I remember my record for attending a networking event was 4.5 minutes. So I live in Cambridge with my family, and I remember this specific event that I attended. It was in London, so I had to get basically a 2-hour train to get down to this event. So I get on the train, go down to the event. It was in a nightclub. Queue up outside. The first 30 seconds were spent getting into the venue, queuing up, going down some stairs into a space. The next 30 seconds were spent surveying the scene, looking around the room, seeing the circles, seeing people sat down, seeing people who already knew one another, and going, whew, that's scary. Next 2 minutes, spent hiding in the toilet, trying to gather the nerves. Didn't manage it, though. So the next minute was spent bolting from the venue straight back up on a 2-hour train back home. It sucked. And for whatever reason, there's this accepted feeling, and I've thought about this a lot before we go in an event called confidence, that we bow down at the pillar of extroversion, that is confidence. It just ain't. And so I guess that's why I'm here today, or as they say in French, ici, which my 116-day Duolingo streak in French will... pretty fancy, right? So I guess that's why I'm here. Because for the past 8 years, I've been building something called the Marketing Meetup, which is cool. The Marketing Meetup is a networking group, but at its core is a set of values. We speak about being positively lovely, but really what positively lovely means is about elevating one another, including everyone, so everyone that comes into the space is welcome, but also you are going to treat the other people in the space as welcome too. And fundamentally, that you value one another's humanity. It's bloody hell, we just want to have a nice time, right? It's a bit boring to value anything else. And like Arij was speaking about at the beginning, this was a passion project that started in a canteen in Cambridge. But over these past 8 years, then the Marketing Meetup's grown to be, 150 events from London to Tokyo this year. We'll speak to 50,000 people. And I get to do it in trousers I've literally worn as my pajamas before, with my dog at my feet, in a space which feels comfortable, welcoming, and just lovely. I didn't know whether to put this slide up because we're not very good in Britain at sort of being proud of our achievements too. But I've stood on stages around the world and stupid stuff like LinkedIn recognizes me and I get to meet amazing people like Kirsty and the people sat in this room and it's just a life lived well. And it feels like a life lived well on my own terms. And so this sense of going from a quiet person who's a bit unhappy about being quiet, over the past few years I've just learned to kind of accept it to let my shoulders relax and sort of feel cool with being quietly confident. And I think the thing that I've come to realize over the course of time is this statement. That confidence is not an expression of volume. Confidence is an expression of yourself. That's a version of what Kirsty lent me a long time ago. I can't credit you like 15 times in the same deck. So this was the worst slide here, by the way. Like, this is supposed to signify like a caterpillar growing into a butterfly, but bloody hell, it does not look like that. So the rest of this talk, I just want to dedicate it to 3 ideas that have enabled me to relax my shoulders and sort of welcome quiet confidence into my life just a little bit more. Oh, God. Well, I'm glad you got it straight away. So there is a story there, and it's not what you think. So I'm going to speak about 3 things. Finding your field, accepting that there is change in you as a person, and then this final statement, which is you deserve to be here. So first story. All right. First story. So I grew up playing football. I played it morning, noon, night, weekends, after school, before school, whatever I could. It was something I loved. And over the course of time, it was something that I gained competency in. It was something I felt comfortable doing. I walked on the football pitch, and I felt like I deserved to be there, like I was comfortable, like I was happy, like I was confident. The analogy that I can draw is that in my life, where I found myself confident is also something where I felt, sort of comfortable. And so often now I think about my life as a bit of a football pitch. I've created my life as a football pitch where I can play on quite nicely. The Marketing Meetup is a safe environment for me to do so. I've got friendship groups who sort of support me, uplift me, feel me better, and likewise I hopefully do the same back. Now if someone asked me to play rugby, I'd be so rubbish. I'd be like absolutely terrible. And all this speaks to is sort of acknowledging your strengths. As a quietly confident person, I can not walk into a space like this and feel great. But what I can do is go on a webinar every week, and I know that I can ask great questions. I know that I can listen. I know I can try to help people, and hopefully I can make people feel better and heard, which is something that feels really important. Those are values that hopefully I bring to other people. So, my first bit of advice is find your football pitch. Today, I started, 8 years ago, I started playing football by myself. Today, I've got 50,000 friends joining me, playing in a massive football game. Right, the next slide is the one that you all laughed at. Put your phones away. Right, let's do it. Right, okay. Okay, right. Fuck's sake. Right. You're going to regret this now because I'm going to tell a sad story. So last year, I reached what felt like my rock bottom. And I went through a series of things which felt very much like anxiety and depression, to the point where someone else has spoken about medication here today. And I went on medication at the end of December. But one of the other things I did was seek out therapy, and then I subsequently sought out coaching. And the coach on our first session, at the end, he asked me to draw a picture that represented my recent life, which makes this way worse, right? And what this is supposed to represent is a series of concentric snakes. So the animal, the snake. And the snake is almost irrelevant, except for the metaphor that the snake sheds their skin. And so they grow, and they shed their skin, and they become a slightly different version of what they were before. Now, in the center of the snake is a version of me a few years ago. And I remember the first Marketing Meetup event we ran, and someone came up to me and said, "You did a great presentation You were endearingly nervous, which was, fabulous feedback. It was, I didn't take it in any other way. But like over the past sort of 8 years, what I've done is I've grown. Like standing on the stage like this, I feel quite comfortable. I feel quite happy. And like I wouldn't have felt like that. So in the illustration, we're on to the next snake. We're on to the next version of ourselves. And the important thing about this is that every stage of this growth, there was part of me that felt like my identity had to change, and I held on to a version of my identity way longer than I felt comfortable with it. So for example, in the middle, someone told me I was endearingly nervous. I thought my personality, my persona, was one of being an endearingly nervous person. So when, in 4 years' time, I was still presenting, and I was putting on this persona of endearingly nervous, when I felt confident, I was like, I need to move on. And so recognizing and allowing yourself those moments to go, my growth, this is cool, and I can change, and I'm allowed to change. And if someone tells me I've changed, that's actually a brilliant compliment. That's something that's really wicked. So growth, allowing yourself to grow, allowing yourself to change, and allowing yourself that sense, combining that idea with the football field to say that I will change in different situations too, and that is okay. This final story is one from a guy called David McQueen, who's a fabulous coach and well worth seeking out on LinkedIn too. We do weekly webinars at the Marketing Meetup, and quite recently we had one entitled How to Be More Courageous and Less Fearful. David speaks about this very eloquently. But there was a quote in that webinar that just hit me right in the chest. And it's 5 words, which is, you deserve to be here. As a quietly confident person, or a quietly unconfident person at different stages of my life, I've definitely felt that sense of, I don't deserve to be here, or I can't give what I need to give. 5 words actually changed my life, and actually as I've been walking around the room today, I'm very good at sitting down, then I've been just sort of replaying this in my mind, which has been a lovely, lovely thing. You deserve to be here. So, some quick takeaways. Is that right? So, confidence is not an expression of volume. Confidence is an expression of yourself. Find your football field, allow yourself some growth, and you deserve to be here. Finally, you're doing just fine. So, thank you for listening.
Confidence Live. Give it up for Joe Glover. That was lovely. And you ended on a joke. I love it.